This one here I'm showing you, this is why you can do knuckle push-ups better, and it's also your grip strength. And plus, if you have to use different kind of tools anyway, hammers, pry bars anyway, and like in occupations and job assignments I use anyway. But yet, you know, we're not, I always preach, we're not just workers. For some odd reason, instead of some people respecting you for it being your secret, people seem to frown on it, either play the card belittle and it, play, you know, do the belittling card to try to hide. They don't want to look to you like they're mortified or intimidated. You know what I mean? So they'll do the whatever. But then some people give you dirty ass looks or give you a hard time about it. But there's nothing wrong with it. But like in my occupations, I'm doing it anyway. But for the forearm, and yes, and I use this thing that, like in all my videos that you guys have been watching anyway, where you got for the splits, you do your knuckle push-ups with this. You can even use a piece of wood if you want to, but I like a weighted instrument because this is I compare this to people with their club bell yoga and their club bell stuff, which I say that there's like a flaw in it where people the guys want to be macho and use bigger, heavier ones. Then you got the Summer Huntington and method where she's doing the club bell yoga, like very innovative, holding it like this and trying to do an arabesque there, which if I need to do my front split better for that and be able to hold like your figure skating or a ballet. Nothing wrong with it, but my things are different. I don't want to go on too far too much, but you can even use one of this weight class to your front lunges, instead of the heavier ones I use. No shame in going light. But I'm emphasizing on cranking the forearm. This is better than some hand grip thing. And this won't always get you the monster forearms that you kind of envy in some of these other weightlifters. Maybe they're shooting up some of them steroids or whatever the heck, But you will be feeling it, and for your size and for your stature, you'll be able to handle tools better and everything else. There will be a difference. Like in even in some people that don't got the Popeye forearms, you'll feel when you keep doing this, you'll see, if you even see that much going in the forearm. Like I said, some of us, for some reason, unless you're really getting yourself jacked up on some kind of substances that the sports stars ain't really allowed to take, but if they sneak, they get kicked out of their sport or get fined or whatever sport they're in, however, you know what I mean? But people will look at you kind of funny because you shouldn't be able to wield even a heavier instrument like a hammer and be able to do it in a work. So it's got a lot of other reasons, but it's got a lot of other reasons too, which you don't, people ask you, you're not going to deny, but you still, there's other kind of reasons why you're doing in life anyway, and people don't like it and they can't do shit about it. But yeah, if you want to be able to do knuckle push-ups better, to people who are just going right into these knuckle push-ups, breaking their wrists, or if their hands are too soft, and shatter them or whatever. Yeah, you're doing stuff like this, and at the same time, this is getting you ready for, and you can even do this, when you're doing a crushing grip, use this to do push-ups with, like I was showing in some of the videos. I'm just doing an explanation. Any of you guys that were with me long enough time. And if you actually want to, like it says too, what this is, you use it to stretch, to do back bend. Or even if you want this arm to be stretched out more so you can lift things over your head easier. That I have, some of us need this stretched out, you're doing that. And I can give you reference to an Indian club method, a Persian sword art type of thing, which instead of the heavy clubs they use, you can do smaller ones. So this is like Indian club too, but you're merging it with Baton. Or my shit was born out of construction stuff and scrap yards. I mean, I tell you a whole story later, scrap yards and everything else, that I could have had videos done in front of piles of metal junk. So this is kind of like an everywhere yoga while you're doing at it. While you're driving trucks, you have access to metal objects, everything from tools to pry bars to use your imagination. And I'm trying to give you what you do in your occupation where you happen to have the time and do it and use whatever you have access to. I'm trying to say too that I'm making references to sword arts and the younger people's sports majorette thing, to justify the baton, I mean, but even if you hold and hyperextend like this, you're feeling it. Say if you go like this, you're feeling it. But this, if I want to go back, reference to the sword arts and different things that's in your back, it can look like you're drawing a sword out. But the same motion in your imagination, if you want to use what I want to talk to you about is a particular Persian martial art. I should take a clip from it. They have a thing called the hero's bow, or that bell-ridden bow, particular for a Persian martial art. This could not just be an Indian club or baton. The same motion, whether it's tactically correct for a quiver, for a bow and arrow or not. You could say fuck the tactical correctness, and if you're in your LARPing clubs or whatever too. This could be an arrow. Say you want to do a hero's bow. I have to give you a picture of it. This could be like you're drawing an arrow. Pretend, hey, maybe you don't really draw from a quiver like this. It don't have to be tactically correct. It's about your imagination. This could be a sword, a club. This can be an arrow. Say you got your bow right here. I think I was trying to do an earlier video. Had it held like this and draw it, touch it. But if you want to if you have a bow, which reminds me too, I wish I had the space. I don't own a bow, but I have pulled them. I'm not Rambo either, but a lot of tricks too, which I have done. I showed you that you can pull a bow that's really hard to pull way better. So if you were to do some of these things here, and there's a difference. You know why? Because in that one particular art form or martial art form that I have looked at, because if you want to, you're a little bit of medieval history, even though you're not tactically correct or historically correct, if you're into other things too. I mean, whether you're drawing a sword, a short sword, or this can be arrows. So you wanted to do things as maybe ritualistic exercise things, and change it a little bit, that Persian martial art with Indian club, and they have a hero's bow. I want to talk about this more, the reason why I like that hero's bow, and everybody, whatever you're into, you want to do a LARPing club or a medieval club, and you happen to throw hatchets and axes, which this is also another thing too, where in the earlier years as a teenager, my mother met my stepdad. We went camping a little bit before I discovered the medieval club, all kind of stuff like that. We were out there, we're throwing hatchets. We're taught to throw hatchets. So I had my thing, whether you can exercise with a hammer, you're going like this if you're throwing a hatchet or a machete. Matter of fact, I got an old video clip that I think I should put in here. When you're doing this, even if you're fooling around somewhere throwing hammers, in an open space, if you have the open area for it, you can see right there, if you do this more rambunctiously a little bit, it's your hatchet or your knife throwing or your axe throwing. I mean, if you double-bladed axes that are more weighted, don't chop yourself, use a hammer. But you go like this. You use one of those other two-handed sledgehammers that are heavier, or double-bladed axes that are more weighted. You better be pretty damn good if you can throw a double-bladed axe, you're into that. With one hand, well, Halloween's almost coming too, one of my favorite references, and I don't even want to put that in the clips anymore in here because, Hollywood's kind of a stickler. They'll have your video taken down, but I don't want to bring up horror movies like that. I want to project myself like that. But say I was in a beard. One of my things though in that Amityville horror movie was, well, he actually threw a double-bladed axe in the first movie and stuck it in a tree from a distance, but he threw it with 2 hands. But there's a part of, I'm making my reference to this about facing evil. There was a scene in that movie, way different. That's why I like this better than, I have a neighbor, a wonderful woman that, friend of my girlfriend's, you know, his neighbor, she likes Stephen King movies. And I'd rather make this as a better metaphor instead of the thing like The Shining. Instead of Stephen King's The Shining, the Amityville Horror, because in the scene about in the Amityville Horror, a guy was facing a house in a storm, and it was, if you look in that movie, it's like there was something in that window, and he had that axe, and he was holding it like he had the desire to face an evil. But then in another scenario, you know, what you don't want to see happen, especially in an apocalyptic kind of thing or zombie thing, even if you don't believe there are zombies. Say you want to get some crazy fuckers that there's no there's no rule of law anymore, restraint. What I want to say, referencing movies like The Shining, which people will come after you, and you may like if there's a lot of things that'll be shock to your system if you don't have to deal with that if you're too domesticated. You know what I mean? But I want to do a separate video on that, but and I'll use this clip and repost it some other kind of way. But it just came to my mind now, but I want to talk about that because I assess and what do you call it? Rate movies once in a while. I've been doing that, you know. So I just wanted to put that scenario for you. And then, well, there's a part of me too that, like, I tell people that my stuff is done, like my okay, like when I was in college, I had the English comp teacher. They taught us, like, when you do something with a writer writes with intention and deliberateness. With intention and deliberateness, yeah. And say I'm doing my stuff with intention and deliberateness, and so there's a part of me that hasn't abandoned the idea of writing, but yes, in your spare times you have some stuff that you're being a writer too, and you're writing your own versions of the stuff you see. And there's so many people that want to be writers out there. You're not going to be successful, but nonetheless, say you're doing it anyway, there's nothing wrong with it, because yeah, that is in it. Not that I don't think I'm ever going to promote anything as far as writing, but yes, when you're doing a thing, you know, if you ever wanted to be a screenwriter someday or your own writer. Well, I also went to college for multimedia, and how, you know, we're doing videos, even though it was a music video production. We were taught to assess movies and assess music videos, and some of us that got along talked about it, and to scrutinize certain things in movies. So I don't know, when you do something, you're doing a little bit of everything anyway. And then a lot of us talk about real life scenarios as opposed to movies, where, you know, but